Hello and welcome back to the Acceleration Netcast. In today's episode, we've got this folder that is full of dirty workbooks, and we want to combine them all. So there's a bunch of different tables in here. We want to turn into one big table, which is hard enough, but it's confounded by the fact that if you look at any one of these things, you like double click on it, each one has a different number of rows. And also, you'd like the headers to be up here in row 1 and the data to be in row 2 and beyond, but unfortunately you've got these 3 rows of sort of introductory stuff, and you've got this little thing underneath the table about when the report was executed, and you want to be able to get rid of that. So we need to do 2 things. Don't save. We need to, for each one of these workbooks, we want to clean it, get rid of all that stuff that isn't the data, and then when we're all done with that, we want to combine it. And we're going to use Power Query to do that fairly quickly and pretty efficiently. So let's get started. Let's go to Power Query. We're going to get our data from a file, except we're not really going to get it from a file. We're going to get it from a folder. So click on Folder. It's going to drop you into this dialog box, which takes you all the way back out to the root of your computer, or the root of your desktop, I guess. So I'm going to navigate. Well, let's see, where is this stuff? Navigate, go find your dirty data. Here's the folder of my dirty data, folder of dirty workbooks. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click OK. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to navigate to one of these workbooks, perform the transformation we want, and then we're going to go into we're going to head into the advanced editor, and we're just going to sort of take that code that it writes for us, turn that into a function, and then apply the function to all the different workbooks all at once. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to click, right now we're in the folder, so every file in the folder, it's got the file name, it's got its own row, and if you click on, like I can click here and get a preview, this is data 01, this is data 02, this is data 03. Well, we actually want to navigate to one of them, so let's click on it, navigate. Notice how we've added some steps here. We're navigating, we're in the workbook. We want to go into the first worksheet. That's where the data always is. Okay, so now we're going to do some fairly par for the course transformations. We're going to remove the top 3 rows, it looks like. Top 3. Okay, good. We're going to remove the bottom 2 rows, because that stuff's always in every workbook, has those extra rows that we want to get rid of. And finally, we're going to promote the first row, or use first row as headers under transform. Click. Okay, good. So now, if we head over here to, well, let's actually step back just a second. Let's go all the way back here. So basically, what we want to do is sort of this step through this step. We want to take those steps and apply them to each individual file. That's the goal. All right. So keep that goal in mind. Let's head over to the advanced editor. So what we're really saying is basically all these steps here, these basically are the different steps that we want to perform to each workbook in the folder. All right, so we're going to turn this stuff into a function. So let's go ahead and do that. It's always a good idea to define your functions above the rest of your variable declarations. It just makes Power Query a lot friendlier to it. So we're going to call this function the cleaner. If you get the reference, that's great. If you don't, no big deal. The function will still work. The argument for this function is going to be workbook in. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it workbook in. It's just one argument. And now we're going to define the function. We're going to use the little definition operator. If workbook in was just like a number like 15, we could just say, hey, workbook in plus 10 and define it that way. But since there's several steps, we actually have to use a let in construct. So basically what we're going to say is this function, the cleaner, the output of that isn't going to be one simple step. It's going to be all the steps sort of in here. Okay, so let's grab the first couple steps. We're going to grab this stuff, Control X, and we're going to do Control V. So cut and paste, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I actually like to have, I like to break these things up a little bit. I think they're easier to read. Break them up into sort of meaningful chunks. So the first 2 chunks are basically so we're passing in a workbook. We're going to convert that workbook to a table. That's its own step. In that new table, we're going to go to the first sheet, and then once we're in the first sheet, we're going to remove the top rows, remove the bottom rows, and we're going to promote the headers. Okay, so the thing is, this importation step, we don't want to import this right here. We don't want to import the results of our navigation down there. What we want to import is the variable that we passed workbook in. Let's see, so let's just delete. This is easier to do it this way. It's an awful long path right there. So we're going to pass it workbook in space. Okay, great. So we're going to take that. The next thing we're going to do is when Power Query writes the script for you, it's often a little overly specific when it's doing navigation. So right now for this imported Excel workbook, when it goes to the first sheet, it's going to look for the sheet by name rather than just looking for the first sheet. And that's a little too specific. It'll actually sort of screw it up. All we want to do is we want to simplify this, and we want to say, hey, when you've imported the workbook, just go to the first sheet. And since Power Query is 0 indexed, the first sheet, which is the same thing as the first row, is equal to row 0. Okay, so we want you to go to the imported Excel table, go to the first row, which is the first sheet, and go grab the data. Okay, now that you've got that data, we want you to take sheet 1, sheet underscore sheet right there. We want you to remove the top rows. Boom, remove the top 3 rows. Remove the bottom rows, remove the bottom 3 rows, and promote the headers. And when we're all done, the output of the function is going to be Control V, that right there. Okay, so now we've defined our function. Okay, the function takes a workbook in, it does all these different transformations to it, and when it's done, it's going to take the results of this variable right here. In fact, you know what, I'm going to use the white space a little better. I kind of like to line up my equal signs. I think it makes the steps a lot easier to read. You don't have to though. All right, so now that we've got our function, what we want to do, let's actually step back a second. I'm going to actually delete this step right here. I'm going to delete that comma because that's going to screw everything up. And let's just review again, because keeping in mind where we're going is useful. So now we've defined a function which doesn't really do anything. It's just a function that we can call. We've loaded the source, and now we're just going to show the source. I'm going to click done. All right. So now keep in mind, here's exactly where we started. We've got this table right here. We want to go through one by one and convert these binaries, these Excel files, right, using the cleaner so that we clean them up. Okay. So let's head back to the advanced editor. What we're going to do, keep in mind the name of this column is content. We are going to come down here. We're going to add a comma, because you have to have commas between declarations. In fact, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to call this cleaned. That's going to be the name of this particular variable. We're going to use the table dot transform columns. That's the name of the function that we're going to call, and that's basically it's going to take a table, and then one by one you're going to say which columns you'd like to transform and how you'd like to transform them. So argument number 1 is, what is the table we'd like to work on? Well, we're going to work on the source table, the result of us loading the folder. So we're basically going to work on the folder. Oh, okay, you want to work on the folder. Well, first tell me what's the first column you'd like to work on, and what would you like to do to it? So we're going to use a list of 2 things in it. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. The first item in that list is, which column would you like to work on? Well, we want to work on content. So we're going to type in content. There we go. All right, very good. Okay, so Siri, you want to work on content. What do you want to do to it? Well, we're going to do, for every item in content, one by one, I want you to apply the cleaner. And when you apply the cleaner, apply it to the what's in each binary. So this little underscore, that basically means do that to each one of these binaries. So for every row, I want you to apply the cleaner to the binary. All right, great. So let's close this guy out. Since we're only working on a single column here, we don't want to do any additional transformations. We can go ahead and close out the function. I'm going to make sure my white space is correct. Great. Okay. So now, in fact, I'm going to show you this step, because again, a lot of this stuff when you're writing code, it's pretty hard to keep track of where you're at. I'm going to click done, and let's see if I don't. Hey, I didn't get an error. I love it when that happens. So let's go back. So here's where we started. Notice that these 2 tables look an awful lot the same. They have the same headers, but right now we've got for content we've got binaries, and for each binary we've got an Excel workbook. When I click down here, we no longer have binaries, we have tables. And furthermore, if you click on it, you get the cleaned table. All right, right on. So now we've got an entire column that's got all the data we want, one for each workbook. All we have to do is add one step that combines all these. Well, that's the easy part. Let's go ahead and do that. Head back to the advanced editor, comma, and we're going to call this combined. All right, well, how would you like to, what does combined consist of? Well, we're going to use the table.combine function, which takes a list of tables and then combines them all. Well, how do we get a list of the tables we want? Well, we're going to go to this, our cleaned table, and we're going to get all the stuff from the first column. So we're going to do cleaned. All right, we're going to go to the table. We don't want to go to a specific row because we want all rows. There's none of this looking stuff. We don't want anything like that. We want, this would be the first row. We want all rows. Okay, so you get all rows. And what column do you want? Well, we want content. All right, very good. And now we're going to take all this stuff and combine it. The last step is to make sure you change your in out here. So this is, we're defining what the results of this whole thing is. Or, let's see, combined. Okay, and we're going to click done. All right, there we go. So we've taken a whole lot of very dirty workbooks. We've defined a function up here called the cleaner, and we have passed the all the workbooks through the cleaner, and then we've combined them all using some M script. All right, let's go ahead and load these just so you can see them in the workbook. Oh, all right, very good. So I think that was I think that's a pretty efficient way to work, especially if you have to do this several times, and if you need to sort of take this code and reapply it to a different folder, it's nice and easy. Well, okay, so I do hope that was helpful, and I will see you next video.